I think we can go ahead and get started. Folks will keep rolling into the space when they do, which is wonderful. So for now, I just ask if you are unmuted to please mute yourselves as we get our event started. So thank you all for joining us this evening for MoAD's Open Mic. My name is Nia McAllister. I'm the Public Programs Manager at the Museum of the African Diaspora. And as we gather here today, it is essential to acknowledge the times we're living in and the circumstances we're still navigating. MoAD affirms Black Lives Matter and recognizes and condemns white supremacy and the ongoing systemic violence against Black people. We honor and mourn the senseless murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, Casey Goodson Jr., Patrick Warren Sr., Andre Hill, Dante Wright, Anthony Thompson Jr., Ma'Khia Bryant, and so many others who've lost their lives in police brutality and racial injustice, including those whose names we do not know. We want to acknowledge that MoAD's commitment to racial justice is ongoing, and as such, we will continue to say these names to hold space and to honor the victims. I also want to acknowledge the physical spaces that we're occupying. Though we're gathered here today virtually, many of us are settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent. And our institutions were founded on the exclusions and erasures of the indigenous peoples on whose lands we're located. It's with deep respect that MoAD acknowledges that even in virtual space, we here, what we call San Francisco and Oakland, reside on unceded Chochenyo and Ramaytush Ohlone lands. And we thank these indigenous communities of the Bay Area and beyond who have and continue to steward the land throughout the generations. And we encourage everyone to learn more about the native lands that you occupy by visiting nativeland.ca. And we'll share that resource in the chat as well. So I want to thank everyone again for joining us here in this space, and being in community with all of you always feels very healing and uplifting, using poetry and art to express ourselves. So today's space is a space for all of us to recognize the full spectrum of our emotions, both the heavy feelings and also finding joy in each other's company. And so I want to emphasize that at the center of this is respect. That's always here in this space and what we always turn to. It's important that we continue to, create spaces to continue to amplify Black voices. And so I'll give just a brief overview of the kind of house rules before we get into all the wonderful poetry we're going to hear tonight. So for those new and joining us, throughout the event, I do ask folks to keep their microphones on mute if you're not the person sharing, just out of respect for our speakers, though affirmations are very important. So I really encourage you to use the chat, write out any phrases, any lines that stand out to you, use the reactions, air snaps, air claps, any ways that you can show love and affirmation to all of the people who are going to get up and share with us today. I have the lineup set for this evening, so thank you very much for those who signed up. I will be posting that in the chat in just a moment, and I'll read out folks' names beforehand to introduce you. Each reader will have 4 minutes to share, and if for some reason someone isn't in the space when I call their name and they return later, we'll circle back to them. And about midway through our open mic readers, we're going to have the wonderful Raina J. León join us for her feature, so very, very excited for that. And I think those are all the rules. We're just here to have fun and enjoy poetry with each other. So I'm going to invite up Sylvia to start us off. Welcome.
Thank you. New haircut. I'm reading from my book, Uprising, a Book of Poetry. And I'm pushing to sell my book so that I can hurry up and write another one and pay some rent. The first poem, short one, is called Or Not, OARKNOT. Whistle blowing, so you already knowing. You gotta clock in and pick up your oar. But what you rowing a sinking ship for? No, keep a rowing, cause you in this sucker too. But how much longer before you gonna sink or swim? When it's time for the life jackets, are there enough for you and them? And if you make it on shore, who keeps the oar? Oh, I'm just musing here. Don't mind old me. Just another sailor from a treacherous sea. The ocean's a big place and there's boats aplenty. I'll bring my own life jacket though, because though I'm a great boater, I'd rather face the seas in my own boat with a motor, one with a wheel, a cabin, and a rudder, one that is free of drama and clutter, riding through life with a team of common vision, trusting each to think of all with every decision. I may be just a foolish dreamer, but this I know. Better to be one who collaborates and can steer than one who clocks in and always has to row. And that's that first piece. And this is the last piece. This is also from a book, What the Market Can Bear. The law of the land has not been to do what is fair, but to do what the market can and will bear. Oh, Black Lives May Matter, and you even buy an African flag if they print one on a Michael Kors bag. And hooking up Junior with a fresh pair of J's won't help with his homework or give him straight A's. I bet you would think twice before catching every sale if instead of weed possession, debt could land your ass in jail. If not having a bank account became unlawful cash flow, having the green dot could mean abuse of credit control, and no proof of source of income made you lower than a hoe. If you seem to have money but can't prove where it came from. If you seem to have money but can't prove where it came from, sir. Child support would be issued by card and its use closely monitored. Your every expenditure would be scrutinized by auditors. The slightest infraction persecuted before one excuse was uttered. There won't be a humiliation that you will not have suffered at the hand of those who no longer have a buffer. With less prosecution of minor drug violations, there will be a renewed need for mass incarcerations. In a world run by businesses, lobbyists, and bankers, the criminals are those who don't respect their gangster. Highly recommend you spend. In fact, here's higher credit. But when you need money to pay that bill, you'll do whatever it takes to go get it. You're an African queen with a style to represent, and you'll make sure you do it until the last nickel is spent, holding you down and fucking you raw, counting down the hours while they paw and claw every shred of your dignity for a little look-see. Purchasing your light, which they drink from shot glasses. You smoke another joint until the degradation passes, and every 3 months, you petition for early release. You believe you've paid the principal, but you've barely covered the interest. But you're hoping someday a brother will invest in a future with all you have to offer, though you have nothing positive to put in the coffer. In fact, there's a chance that you may bleed his money dry. You need to go shopping like you need to get high. They've told you you're nothing without those red bottom shoes, and now you're out here singing the red bottom shoe blues. You're stunning to behold, but you've a short attention span. Your programming rarely extends beyond the superficial. Your persona gives off warning bells like a dog whistle. You'll be in and out of jail and found to be a waste of bail. It's not that they don't love you or that no one cares. It's that it's your turn on the hamster wheel. And that is what the market can and will bear. Thank you. Buy my book.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for sharing. And if you have a link to the book, please do share that in the chat as well so people can buy and support. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Normatics up to the mic. Welcome, Norm.
Good evening. I have some new stuff here. I'm going to start off with a couple of haiku. I'm going to do a tanka, and then I have a poem. Haiku, Blackulus number 4. Others surviving. Why are not others thriving? What's fair about that? Blackulus number 5. Why do resources never meet needs of greedy? Strange fruit left hanging. This next piece is a tanka, which is a form that uses 5, 7, 5, 7, 7 as the syllable count for those 5 lines. First one. Home is a village where my ancestors connect, a mountain of light to multiple voices that sing my life like a mantra. Something else about the tanka is that those 5 lines and those 17 plus 14 is 31 syllables are all in one thread, one thought. Next example of a tanka. A vision of hope shreds beyond recognition another martyr, mixed with tears, bones, and ashes. Flames flow for generations. This piece is called My Black Not Blue Enough. As if being good or bad makes one a better victim, like this is a victim competition. As if suffering is the measure of someone's blackness. As if my trauma is forgettable when that's all my body remembers. As if doing time, being on probation, are normal time intervals between grades, between jobs, between generations. As if hard times measured the amount of struggle, overcoming the myth, American dreams sleep in Black minds. As if the facade of calm resembles compliance, while it never belies the toxic burden of unrequited rage, cooking my guts into a fricassee. As if my truth needed confirmation by the ones who never believe a word I say anyway. As if my life is a problem that someone else has a solution for, and love is the only answer. Peace.
I love all of those. Thank you so much, Norm, for sharing those. And also, I would suggest dropping a link to your book as well in the chat. Everyone should read Norm's latest book.
Thanks for the reminder. I need to get that self-promotion down thing. Peace.
Wonderful. Next, I would like to invite S.K. Williams up to the mic. Welcome.
Thank you, Nia. Thank you, everybody. Norm, that was awesome. Thank you. I'm going to read 2 pieces, both sort of dedicated to my ancestors. I am a Garifuna from Belize, and I write a lot about my ancestors and about Yurume, which is St. Vincent Island, where my ancestors were exiled from into Central America by the British in 1796. So we know, we refer to St. Vincent as Yurume. So the first piece is called Yurume, and that's our intermediate homeland between whatever countries we came from and in Africa and the New World. Yurume, our midway between Africa and our New World, our intermediate homeland. the place where our hybrid memories began, the place of mixing, the joining of the African and the Arawak, the African and the Carib, Kalipuna. Kalipuna is the word that the Carib native folks referred to themselves, Kalipuna. Deep in the forest jungles, high up in the mountains, above the clouds, away from our captors. Welcomed by the indigenous, who shared their languages with us, because we'd come from different places and did not have a common one. They shared their cultures, they shared their food, they shared their music and their love, and we were formed and blossomed into a new people, fierce and proud, Garifuna. And you were our new home, far away from our own. Our new home until we were once again cast out and left adrift to die. But we lived and recreated ourselves again, a new people, in another new land, with a new language and a different culture, but with you still in our blood. You will be forever in our bones and in our hearts until one day we can go home again. Yurume, the beauty of the rainbows in the valleys. We will return with renewed hope and love for the land and the people where the bones of our ancestors lie. That's the first one. This next piece is an excerpt from a poem that was written in Garifuna. It's a very long poem, so I'm only going to read a part of it. It's called Searching for the Heart Drum. And we, as Garifuna people, we play different levels of drums, and the heart drum is considered the drum that awakens the ancestors when we do ceremonies in our longhouse. Searching for the heart drum in Garifuna, I would say, Aluaha na nigigarao. My ancestors have been calling me. I hear their voices and feel their pain. They're making me feel what they felt, forcing me to remember what I've worked so hard to forget. On down through the generations of the ships that ran aground that fateful day on the shores of Yurume that have allowed me to be me and almost free. But only they know that it is embedded deep down in my bones, way down in my heart, mired down in my soul, just waiting for release. My many years of nightmares of drowning in an ocean of tears, of fears, of years of oppression is a sound of their wailing souls, as they actually drowned in real oceans and seas, escaping the future of forever bondage. They would rather die by sinking in a bottomless sea than be subjugated for the rest of their lives. So they made the decision to be unencumbered by their bodies, by the chains, by the betrayal that cost them their liberty. My ancestors have been calling me. I've heard their wailings, begging me to free their souls by remembering. So I'm discarding my fears and opening my heart and letting them in. And so begins my search for the heart drum. And that's it for me. Thank you all for listening.
Those were beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing those pieces. And hopefully at some point we'll get to hear more of the long piece. Next up, I would like to invite Raymond Nat Turner up to the mic. Welcome, Raymond.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay, so let's see if I can. Okay. Hello, Nia and company. It seems like it's strained. I'm hearing some kind of, but anyway, if you can hear me, what I'm wanting to do tonight is to share a piece that I've written in tribute to Glenn Ford, who was the executive editor and one of the co-founders of Black Agenda Report, where I'm a poet in residence. And Glenn, along with Margaret Kimberly and the late Bruce Dixon, founded Black Agenda Report in 2006. And Bruce, who was managing editor, died 2 years ago in 2019. And then Glenn just died last week. And Glenn was the son of a famous Southern radio programmer by the name of Deuce Rutherford. And Glenn started his radio career at the age of 11 reading news sheets on air. And he was a great media person, and Black Agenda Report is the voice of the Black left, and it's known throughout the country and actually even internationally. And while being what people like to say unapologetically Black, Black Agenda Report also was internationalist in its scope and outlook. So this piece is called For Brother Glenn. I'm having lighting problems in here. When an elder dies, a library burns to the ground. An African proverb, gender adjusted. 1, no bald, build back better slogans for a burned Bruce library, a Glenn library gone. Pick up the ashes, carry on, spreading them on new crops. 2, I couldn't breathe, black cat dander, goober dust, rabbit foot, spookism, viral droplets of Madison Avenue messaging, yes we can, and bottle Jim Jones juice for a regime change you can believe in. I couldn't breathe, droplets of dung from charlatans riding bareback backwards on donkeys every 2 to 4 years, trapping Negroes in pigment of their imaginations, whooping, hollering, happy dancing on ice for the audacity of dope. I couldn't breathe, ecstasy, rhapsody of nodding icons, swept up in rapture of Kool-Aided euphoria, mentors becoming brutes when facts effed up their highs. I couldn't breathe, quarantined, on timeout, socially distanced, isolated, unappreciated, wasting away out west, killing me softly for my words, my poem, The Coming of Christ. 3, then one slow blues Saturday, a still velvet rap voice of spirit steering North Star strike issued from the radio, snapping me to attention. It possessed thunderous timbre, freedom's journal, liberator, emancipator tone, snatching my collar. It held Douglas DNA, infecting my marrow. It had shedded, reading Newswire copy on the air at age 11. It harnessed horsepower that even the godfather of soul would say it loud, rechristening it Ford. Ida B. Ferocity, it commanded KPFA's colossal signal, showering ice cold WikiLeaks over 1/3 of the Golden State. It flared out in hot blue flames and melted mask of misleaders guarding freezers full of corporate cash. Possessing laser precision, it surgically removed word walls metastasized in the mind of a slutty professor, and it taught little Negroes in Teddy P tones, you gotta let him go if he looks like another Booker TKO or more effective evil. And it continued crescendoing from studio stages, street corners, churches, bookstores, bars, lecture halls, flatbed trucks, speaking truth to the people, igniting conscious explosions with welcome 4-word fuses. Power to the people, power to the people. 4. Well done, brother. May the ancestors be pleased with you kneeling near 7 mounds, saluting the 7 trees, guarding them on African burial ground as you leave Lower Manhattan, seeing sunrise, Saturn, beyond.
Thank you so much, Raymond, for that incredible tribute.
Thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next up, I would like to invite Allie Jones up to the mic. Welcome, Allie.
Thank you, Nia, and much love to everyone that's here. I would like to dedicate my reading to Toni Morrison. Today is the anniversary of her passing. I'm like rocking, I don't know if you can see, I'm like rocking a Toni Morrison shirt, which I was like, I have to. This is the day. I'm gonna share a few pieces with y'all and get out of the way so I can hear Raina and everyone. This piece is called Smothered. Collard green painted scenery, pretty pastel Easter dresses and freshly made rice, nothing that could be fixed. Not with BC powder or thick Crisco grease, the greatest migration. Asymmetrical assimilation might buy you inheritance. Nothing could be fixed. Mesmerizing peach colored roses, wilt shamelessly without witness. Rosemary bushes remain eternal. Nothing could be. I am from cast iron skillets, seasoned and ready for the next meal. Belly laughter like smoke-filled buses and casinos. Nothing could. Sequins and satin, pity-pat and Seagrams, gradients of inebriated despair, nothing. Mask for Tuesday, fat as ever, comme des crevettes, toujours étouffées. And this last piece I'm going to share reminded me of how Raymond Nat Turner just started off his, and it's actually in honor of a French professor who passed away. It's called Indelible. When a sparrow cries, a soul flies silently. In the greenest pastures covered by warm rays beaming sous le soleil. Hummingbirds stand still in observance, in reverence for the stars who no longer burn. Avec une lumière qui brille, with a light that never fades. Grief in my bones, that phrase, this bird, man, and knowing in my hair, we say so much more. Shouting wild and blurred, the simulation of sacrifice, countenance, steady and resounding. One angle straight to low. I hope you sing, I hope you dance, that use de joie et d'amour profonde, pas de soucis, pas de larmes.
Seems like we might have lost Allie there for a second. Allie, are you still with us?
Sorry, my Zoom kicked me out.
Oh no.
Am I back? Yeah,
We can
I'm
hear
back.
you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Like,
do you want to keep finishing the piece?
Can you hear me? Okay. It just like, yeah, I'm gonna finish it. This just threw me out. We're bringing it back. I'm just gonna do that last part. I hope you dance and sing les chansons de joie et d'amour profonde. Pas de soucis, pas de larmes, rien qu'une souris qui allume. J'espère que tout va bien, même si vous ne savez pas comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allie, for both of those pieces, and for the tributes, for bringing ancestors into the space as always. Those were wonderful. So on that same note, I'm going to share a couple pieces now and then introduce our feature for this evening. So again, in recognition of our beloved ancestor, Toni Morrison, this first piece is dedicated to her and her literary legacy. And it's one I always return to often. And I was fortunate to write 2 years ago, kind of in commemoration of her work, entitled, "In the Day Diamonds Are in the Water." The only time the ocean cut me, I bled stories. They said, what a beautiful yet terrifying thing it is to be free. They said, we have traveled years to bring you our names. We knew you'd forget them, or worse, never recognize them in the first place. They said, remember me, unfold your tongue, gather in your hand all the cities your foremothers birthed freedom in, scatter milkweed seeds in the wind, and call us home. So waterlogged and weary, I bandage my wounds with diamonds and rise from sea foam memory, homebound. I have never been far from the page. How else to learn what moonlight looks like through blue-eyed promises? Oh, but to be Sonia, to be Toni, to be wind in a cotton field scattering marigolds. I wish I knew Arkansas clouds like I do the lines on a palm, like I do the recipe for forgiveness. Joy is memory in the refrain, magic too hopeful to stay hidden. See, the trick to befriending stories is listening after all. Yet sometimes belonging cannot be traced by tide lines or railroads carved out of the night sky, but rather dog-eared pages and overdue book finds. See, having a library to owe things to makes one at home, right? So we write, we sing, we rename our story legacy before they claim we were never here in the first place. Find us on the page. As she said, this is the first battlefield we play on. Here our words dance. And so we too leap into blissful surrender. And one day we will fly. And one day we will fly. Thank you. And it feels only fitting to share this next piece because this is a collaborative poem. I don't know, Raina, if you remember writing this, but this is from September of 2018. And we did that exercise where one person writes a line and then the next person writes a line based off of it and you go back and forth. And so I'm bringing it back. And I don't think we titled this, but this is a collaborative poem that I wrote with Raina. The sea knows what justice is. It sings its own march. We too march on soil soaked with our ancestors' legacy. How many names call out their joy and blood? Say her name, say our name. Remember those before and those to come. Generations of children play in the sun and dance in the rain. For the future, we plant our seeds and our songs. March on, sing on, use on, keep on, resist, persist. For what is resistance without the resilience of our collective roots? So thank you, Raina, for writing that with me now a few years ago. It's wonderful to bring it back into this space. And with that, it is time to introduce our wonderful feature for this evening. Raina J. León, PhD, is Black, Afro-Boricua, and from Philadelphia. She's a mother, daughter, sister, madrina, comadre, partner, poet, writer, and teacher educator. She believes in collective action and community work, the profound power of holding space for the telling of our stories, and the liberatory practice of humanizing education. She seeks out communities of care and craft, and is a member of the Carolina African American Writers Collective, Canem, CantoMundo, Macondo, and Círculo de Poetas and Writers. She's the author of 3 collections of poetry, Canticle of Idols, Boogeyman Dawn, and Sombra Dislocate, and the chapbooks, Profeta Without Refuge, Areyto, and Atabey, essays on mothering self. She's also the founding editor of the Acentos Review, an online quarterly international journal devoted to the promotion and publication of Latinx arts. She educates our present and our future agitators and educators as a full professor of education at St. Mary's College of California. And I will also add, she was one of our inaugural poets in residence at MoAD. Welcome, Raina.
Thank you. That was so lovely, Nia. That poem, I remembered it as soon as you said it, and we did a good thing.
We really did.
A really good poem. We should publish that. I'm so happy to be with you all, MoAD family. As Nia said, I was part of the inaugural group for the Poets in Residence, and MoAD is my place of joy. I tell people all the time that when I was able to walk to the museum, you could hear my laughter and my joy probably 3 blocks away. Like long before I even got into the building, I'm just like having a good time, excited about everybody that I'm gonna see there. So I am so just delighted to be with you today. So I'm gonna share a screen. If y'all are on the socials and we are friends on the socials, you've been seeing me doing this daily art thing. So I'm gonna share some of this daily art in connection with my poetry. And I've only started a few weeks ago. It's a new practice. And so new poems, old poems, here we go. Let's share screen. I can do the sharing with the screen. Yes, I can. Okay, and then I lose you. Okay, now I see you now. Okay, good. So you can see my screen now. So I wanted to start our time today. I think it's actually really poignant and important how we are bringing our ancestors into this space. So one of our ancestors, literary ancestors, is Venus Thrash, an incredible DC poet. I met Venus way back in the day at Canem. We were first years together. That group is actually still notorious, I think, for a lot of adventures, misadventures. But I wanted to share with you this piece that was me integrating her picture with the connection of trees, right? So this is her poem, Snatching Happiness. This joy, and it has the spiritual, so I'm gonna sing it for you all. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. So that's what we might remember of it being sung. Lately, I've been dreaming of death, not some generic somber homegoing of one I knew in passing, mourning in the pews, removed and detached, but my own, impending, looming behind my pillow. Lately, I've grown more grateful. Every morning I open my eyes, I snatch whatever happiness I can from this hellacious life. I yank it right out of the infinite sky, like high-fiving God and pulling my hand away at the last second, like catching a falling star. I loved her book. So I wanted to call her name and call her to your attention. So some of these pieces that I've been creating, all these eyes are coming from archival photos from my family. I always feel like somebody's watching me. So here we go. From the Addison. Nyx, who stood at creation's dark dawn, blinking her eyes into a wind whisper, takes human form, fills the fleshy folds of it with languor. She widens the hips with death, shimmies her swagger so those who see long for an end that starts in her. From her earlobes, She hangs pearls to counter the tacky tar allure of her eyes. Her scent blooms in summer sweated jasmine. She lives beyond ocean or light, beyond time's witness of dust mounding into the body that entangles with body and abrades some night after many nights into dust. She sparked creation in dream and holds it thrumming to bleach. She perches maternal at the edge of metaphoric, devouring her skin prickles with an ever-primed mother fury. Don't touch my baby. Not his hair, not her body, not their anything, not them, what is not hers that she has born and not born. Nothing can be touched and truly known. She most definitively is Black, God, and feared by gods, loved for her whole night breaking open. Okay. My babies are Berkeley babies. And so this piece is a prose piece, lyrical piece. A view from on high. You should know, my daughter's a year, so pandemic baby. And I gave birth to her in a COVID isolation room. I suspected of having COVID, did not, and had, I don't know, 4 or 5 different tests. The last one came back 30 minutes after she was born. But a lot of impact on that. At the time, there was thought about if you were suspected of having COVID, then you would have to labor alone. In my case, I did not, but my husband could not leave. And so that left my older child alone for 2 days with a series of community members who came in for 6-hour shifts, but that's what we had to do, right? So, a view from on high. You still lie on that bed at that Alta Bates Hospital on Telegraph Avenue in Colby. Your hair a matted tangle. You avoid mirrors, avoid the look of yourself in them. You tell yourself this is to defeat your vanity, a vestige of the days when you wanted to be a nun. When you charted your sins and tracked the ways of becoming more saintly, you know that this is a lie. You are not vain. You are just too aware of how wildness and Blackness is seen in the mirror of the eyes around you. You do not want to filter the gaze of others into how you view yourself in this moment. It is enough just to stay alive, rather than constantly in the space of deciphering how you are perceived and living. In the room, the HEPA filter drones as steadily invasive as airplane engines, nearly 24 hours of that growl of gobbling air, instead of taking you somewhere cobblestoned and new, someplace alive with lights that trail behind speeding cars. When the eyes see right, the buzz says clean, make safe. Safe is not about you. It is barely about the baby who will come, the mask, the hazmat helmet with the hose of one nurse, the face shields, the scrubs in 3 layers, cloth, blue paper, yellow plastic, with the top 2 layers installed on entering and thrown away on leaving. None of it is about your safety, her emergence in safety. You lie on a bridge between death and birth in an isolation room, dirt splotches caked on the floor, sticky when your bare feet cross them, the bureau ever mounding with used rough hand towels, the smudged mirror centers on the bed. What was that room number? 3rd floor. You remember wanting to hold that number in your mind, maybe play it in the lottery you never play, but you got caught up in the whir of the wheelchair's wheels to the emergency COVID isolation birthing room you were never supposed to see, the twisting of your abdominal muscles, the panic in your husband's sweaty hand as he pressed acupressure points in the fleshy web of your left. You don't remember the number. Your symptoms could not be COVID, but everything was at the time. You remember the deluge of water that streamed down your legs just as you were about to be discharged, a sudden pop, and then you became a walking demolished dam, warm and slick, smelling like those last few blocks before you see the ocean. The hint of clean, new salt spray, how you showered away your salt and still leaked onto the quick swelling pad a pinched-nosed nurse placed beneath you, the one you changed yourself, because you were and would always be contagion. With your first son, Your water broke in pushing him. 4 hours, only 20 minutes after arriving at the birthing center, and he broke into the world he became. Your daughter, 4 hours of steady contractions, about a half hour of pushing, but before that, a day of maybe now, maybe not, false start, invisible scalpel pull and twist across the belly one moment, and then a chilling calm the next. Icy hands, a shaking that rattled your teeth and then suddenly left. A phantom C-section while birthing, 2 bodies on a table, one on one timeline and one on another. They are both you. In one timeline, you are dead on that table. In the other, you have a baby and just one small tear for a little silver nitrate to burn clothes. That's this reality, right? Some might say ancestors visited. Did you feel me visit, they say. You heard that once and started vocally saying, thank you for coming. No need to attend. Beloved, we will meet another day far from now. In English, then Spanish, sometimes the chills left sooner, sometimes they needled in their persistence. You lie still in the birthing room. Okay. So my residence at the MoAD, the first time that I had the joy of writing in response to art was in connection with the Community Voices program that Arisa White had organized. And then Arisa said, this felt like a writing residency. And I said, yeah, it did feel like a writing artist residency. And we both went to Elizabeth and said, come on, let's do a artist residency at the MoAD. And she was like, okay, we could do that with Dimitri. And so this series of pieces was at the museum. Five Beauties Rising, Fannie Mae, and Five Beauties Rising, Dot by Willie Cole are mentioned in this one. This is the full collection of the Five Beauties. What plastic and steel teaches. Most of my childhood, I hopped from one plastic mat to another. I imagined them islands, over swampy moats. This my inheritance, the clean. My mother would shampoo the carpet each week when I was young. At about 9, I started ironing at 6 each morning, my own uniform over the metal face, covered over by cloth tacky with starch. What lessons was my mother teaching in what clings, what releases its hold? In the museum, I see those boards again, flattened down by the heavy press, roughed truck wheels, the pressures of world beyond 4 walls. Who constrains, who compels? All the engraved frustrations on a hidden face, beneath padding set to keep straight. Press the wrinkles through steel and hard metal hocks for steam. A face can be a ship, pressed in ash and grime, riding a frozen paper sea, black and gray against the white. Can you see the bodies, curled fetal, within the frame of clean? The dirty death and chains, defiant in print, whiteness as background for a Black story. My grandmother learned to clean. She taught my mother to press, even bed sheets to boards. They rattle walls against the whiteness with voice. Listen, my mother taught me to iron a collar crisp, to strip even invisible bacteria from carpet, to clean, to pristine and be clean. I only once burned my shirt with steel eyes, fixed open. And I wore it so I could see. Okay, so I'm Boricua, which means that my people are from Puerto Rico. And I have a great deal of varied roots. And I've been doing these Puerto Rican kind of quilting projects with different images that I find. So Atabey is here, who is a mother goddess who birthed all from nothing. Nearly 5,000, and this is written after Hurricane Maria. On the phone, my father tells a story of my great-grandmother's sister, how she could read your spirit in cigar smoke, and I imagine her lip curl to suck in breath, then wrap a sun-cracked pucker around tight leaves to blow a power beyond body through packed tobacco onto the faces of belief. Though I did not know her, some blood power must persist. How to conjure thousands, what herbs and smoke must rise to see them among split trees, the flopping blue tents, the black mold mounding to its own glory. And what of we who scatter flamboyant seeds, defiantly burning our own blooming? We must offer our smoldering through burnt red and gold, rush into the ether to throng our people murdered, slow by lack of the electric to run respirators, lack of milk to flush babes, to relax, sleep, ease, lack of clean water to echo our clean amidst the dirty politic. They will rise and we will rise together, twine through silver moss and side winding Seiba. I am calling them. We call them what was split by wind and hurl rain, made stronger like calluses on fractured bones, summoning collagen body gold. We will wear smoke and dark night to fuel our guerrilla tactics, defend Nuestra Isla from the invasion that comes. These are Columbuses who use the same tactics as against the Taínos, kill us with disease, this time as capitalism, debt, the lack to steal land for their leisure, how the devil delights in playing kapiku on our bones. We call the bones to rise and shake, exchange uselessly flung towels for dagger hauntings. The devil does not know the danger the living can do, riding a tidal wave of spirit we all know how to summon, starting with our own, thousands gone and not gone, and we are millions marching machatero, siempre, siempre pa'lante. Nothing will stop our rising from even foundations cracked by smut. Nada. The coquí are already singing. Okay, so I'll read two poems to this piece, which is A City from a River Running Through It, from Tigre Gebreses, whose work was at the MoAD as well during that first residency. I hope y'all are doing okay. I'm not monitoring the chat. Let me bring the chat back to me. Okay, here we go. A child witnesses his birth. Mother said, we are not supposed to live forever. Mother said, women open the dead gates. Mother said, we make the body brave. We carry, but we are supposed to go too. Mother said, all vessels break their shards to element anew and birth. Mother said, make way and return, and to water be water. Mother said, the child. Mother said, I will give him life, not my loss. Mother said, come, come, come. I turn and set my head to light beyond the fold. Angel kiss my left eyelid, stork release this neck. The child pushes root nest, the midwife brushes his hair. The child bathes in mother, the deepest bass throat rumble, call like pounding feet, rush out blood for push. She says a name. It is my name. Mother says light. Light, mother says feed, God. Oh God, this body. And this poem on changing my son, which directly references some of the elements that I see here. I am the one who sees olive fields plump their pitted fruits in the green of my son's eyes, the mottled iris and radiant hickory. A quorum of trees split in their canopy song. This skin here is the painter's palette, an overlay city map fashioned in sunflux. When nude, he splays himself unashamed. His body learning through touch, joy, he has never known shame. My life was ever preparing to witness freedom, the squirm, be hummingbird, be boy, be bee, be all the natural things. Look there, conch swirls at the edge like those on his thumb, each coil an inherited story and stories to come. His body a city within cities of bodies. I never knew this would happen when I refused to play with dolls, when I ripped their heads off, fastened them wild, screeching beasts mounted on my brother's remote control cars. The new harpies, all raw, warrior defiant. This boy Now, whose first sound heard was his sweet name, I knew this. Always standing on the threshold to cross a border whose key was not a fist. I am changed. He is changed. Abre la boca, drink. There is no salt in this land, no arid dust, only milk. Okay. Yeah. How y'all doing? You're doing okay? Okay. Oh, I wanted to show you this one. I really love this one. I meant to read that poem to this one. I did this one like 2 days ago, so I love it. Okay, I think it'll come back later. This one, you see a picture of my son, so it's a sketch of him. I'll read these 3 poems. The only color. Verde, 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 every color is verde. And I think on Federico Garcia Lorca, how I read this poem to him, days old, his whole body, less than 6 pounds on my chest. And now he stands, a wild octopus boy, on a chair reaching for the markers. Verde, verde, he says, though the uncapped tool streams orange, and his father says, he just knows what the best color is. I say, naranja or anaranjado. He has to know his colors. I go into a diatribe about school not being behind. It is not about school. He is my son. And so the box waits, a check mark of abuses woven into his identity. Will he ever be able to just be the creative child who says verde, verde, verde for all the colors and is glorified for how his mind stretches divergent? My husband does not know that the box can be a casket, and each day we must fight for it not to be. MoAD ran on a street lined with green leaves. Lorca wrote a poem. They shot him too, so bright. I just want my son to know his colors and live. Atrial septal defect, or we must leave this country before my son turns 12. Y'all okay? It's so weird, like the Zoom where you don't hear the breath, right? You can't track how people are like, so I'm missing that. But here we are, and there's benefit to this too. How else would I show you these things? Atrial septal defect. Sometimes I fear the casket shroud will emerge from my own shadow to greet me smiling with my son's teeth. This country is such a cruel winter to Black boys singing. It hangs their songs to clink on snow-covered boughs. My sister's son died and she wore white. Only 2 months, his heart already broken in its making. With Tamir and Ayana and honesty, Black babies in a pandemic of guns and crowns, I whispered to myself his new name, Prophet. Call her grief pure. A natural end and still a butchering. Sometimes I see him somersaulting in her wake, and sometimes I fear how my still new name, Mama, might be written in soot on snow. It was me who held his twin sister's hand, twisting hands to his before curtains were drawn. It was me who carried her screaming from the room to a hospital labyrinth. His twin is 8 now, their sister is 2, continuum of brown, gleeful earth. My son is Black and he is parchment and cream. This northern city has grime and glint in its racism. My boy's buttermilk may save their Black, though he is Black, it may not save anyone at all. Am I raising a boy, or what a surgeon might call bonus sculpitarium, or just slab with a child? By the time I was 8, I could break a jaw into bone spiders. I learned to handle a knife in Philadelphia, a slice quick to splatter an invitation to rubber gloves. I swore they would find me still deadly in shaking sheen if ever a fool would. Since my boy was 6 weeks old, I have folded his hands to chop hangers, combination, jab, jab, cross, block to hide the smile I want to save, even when he was gum and dribble, an elder in a newborn's bib. In Germany, 3 days it took to leave the serrated honing behind. I felt safer in a place of dead crematoriums than my own country. If my boy falls to metal, not natural, shard me up. Abyss cut water to darkness. If a building stand, it is a lie, a forest of names for empty-eyed women, the only real, also real. This country will kill you if you're not looking, and even if you are. Mother, my God, she asked me, mother, my God, my God. Okay, I want to shift the tone, which means I'm going to just show you some pictures and then read 2 poems, okay? So here we go. Who knew that it was circle time today? So this is a piece that I was going to read a poem for Solitary Boat, also another figure piece. And this one I actually did just the other day. And so I want to read those. Yeah, Eden had 4 rivers and decay. After the birth and the afterbirth, the midwife lifts the placenta to show how from the womb we are all elemental. Beloved, suckered from a veiny tree, the assigned boy child was easy. Querido, querida, queridas, we took the organ of our lineage, a treasured gift of our waters and roots, iced and carried in a bloody plastic bag, a buddy, and contributed its last work to Fig. After the assigned girl child, wherever you go from around to within, we had to steal what they wanted to study. Mother body made a possible pathology. We brought a cooler and guarded it. Peaches rise now in a garden that feeds other mouths. There is a metaphor there. Let us just say medicalized racism saw every part of me and she as tainted. This, the initiation into Black gendered identity. Eden was surrounded by rivers. And within it, walking ancestor, los ancestros que todavía respiran, están respirando sus canciones. Trees rose and the roots talked to one another. All creatures listened and knew one language. They moved like water. We see you, adapting to one another. And in the water, we be you that fed the water and trees and all living things. You be we. There was wisdom and memory passed on. Areyto ta Atabey, remembered in stone on a metal tray. Strength, current, wherever there is water and earth. A deliverer holds up a blood tree. Roots the bridge between death and life and dream. Fleshy Eden, listen to the voices still whispering there before the clot. Springtime in mule and eyelash flutter, our and your own. Yes. I do find it so fascinating, but that's one of the things after birth, like the doctor says, and look at your placenta, isn't it wonderful? Like, how many times has that happened to you with an organ? Look at this organ, isn't it wonderful? Look at your appendix, isn't it wonderful? No, the placenta, very different. This last one, decay. Child, I am old and have learned so many rules of what and how to taste. How manufactured foam on a lightly poached egg refines the tongue, while sea sputum twists it to poison, they say. And though I know gold clogs the intestines to stillness and cements there, even in tiny flecks, the glitter going down is supposed to be like capturing the sun. A culinary delicacy, better than the day star's momentary grace on studded palate, unfolded to sky as if to devour light. Child, what would you teach me about gluttony? Tell me about this second meal, so soon after the grit of the sandbox, and just before the dessert of your own spit as you suck your fingers. Querida, describe how death ribbons in your mouth and offers you a new pucker and a distinct scrunch to your face. Is this how your first wrinkle of consternation forms dead leaves? And when I die, Will the leaves I eat taste like these I disparage now, thinking them less fine? On a menu you sample of garden. Thank you all. This was delightful. I hope you enjoyed. Oh, and I'm supposed to show you the thank you because I used it. Okay, here we go.
Thank you so much, Raina, for the poetry, the art, the visuals, the stories. That was incredible. So thank you so much. It just brought me back to when you were actually in the space and getting to like live the poetry in the museum. And so very excited for more of that in the future. We've shared your website in the chat, but I would love to give you a moment if there's any other upcoming readings or teachings that you would like to share with people, other ways people can support. I'd like to give you that space.
Yeah, follow me on all the socials. I have a workshop that's going to start in 2 weeks. It's actually going to be rooted in Australia, but the hours will be good for the West Coast folks too. And it's a Form 1. The folks in Australia are hungry for connecting through poetry. So that's one thing about these times, right? The use of technology can allow us to connect communities, you know, that we otherwise would not have that ability. So I love the idea of worldwide connections, and I'm trying to actively foster that. So follow me on the socials. I'm really just Raina León on everything. And I would love to see you all in some of these classes coming up.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. And my heart is so full hearing from you. So we're going to continue our evening with the remainder of our open mic readers. And I'd like to invite Shauna Sherman up to the mic to start off the second half.
Thank you, Nia. And hi, everybody. And hi, Raina. I've taken one of Raina's classes and I would highly recommend it. I'm going to check out this new class offering. Hopefully it works with my schedule. So in the, everybody's been talking about literary ancestors, and today I wanted to bring up Akilah Oliver. She's one of my favorite poets. This is one of her books, the She Said Dialogues Flesh Memory. The She Said Dialogues Flesh Memory, because I said that wrong the first time. She was a poet. She passed away in 2011, but I mean, I just really love this book, and it was like out of print for forever. It's published in 1999, and I just so happened to like look on Amazon a couple months ago, and it was reprinted. Yes, so it's an amazing book. So the poem I'm going to read is sort of based on her, but you know, it probably doesn't really meet her standards, but I tried. It's mostly the form. It's called "My Imagination is My Memory," she said. A silver ring, white stone, 10,000 gallons of water in a well, a crank, a mark on my skin, correction, connection. I threw the ring into the shaft, hear the plunge pop as I dive into the ocean at the shore, then scan the sand for seashore shells, walk up the valley on a fern-lined trail, search for wild fruit, and as Amy, I had a soft way of speaking. In a dream, I flew on an eagle. The bird said, "All I can see is water." I gave the bird beef. In another dream, in a garden, a kukui nut forest, a squirrel, a bird with 3-foot wing, clothes too tedious to mention. In spring, a custom, wear necklaces of various lengths, plumeria, pikaki, popolo. Pele gathered her black curled hair and tied it behind her neck. In every direction, filled with wild pink hibiscus obscuring the cave. That was before the fire, the earthquake. Did you feel it? 4.2. Our building swayed 45 seconds. The moon was drunk then, waning. As Suki Jones, I loved 2 husbands, the husband at the sea and the one in the valley. I enjoyed pleasure in the night flight. I direct the clouds according to my mood. My father, a well-known fiddler, I'm much like him, quick to burst a tune. What's going on? Did you feel that? Aftershock, while the mythical family moves to explore new islands in 7 double-hulled canoes. paddle, paddle and to surf, paddle to escape the boiling sea. As Amy, I travel alone, stare out the window of the bus, the fields in dusks as if an ocean churning. Black kukui nut choker nestled in the circular scar around my neck, the lava flowing, fire red, lava bubbles in a depression. He said, "Take this towel for the bleeding." I waited till the liquid hardened, black rock, new land. This isn't meant to be catastrophic, but it is. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shauna, for sharing that, for bringing another literary ancestor into the space. Thank you very much. Next up, I would like to invite Robert Zachary up to the mic. Welcome.
Welcome. I would like to do a poem that I wrote back in the military when I first started writing around 1972. And my friend came to me and talked about selling cannabis. And I sort of hit the ceiling and wrote this poem to him out of my concern. Listen, my friend, I must tell you something without an answer, without a clue. I have seen productive lives wasted. In every way has this been revealed to me clearly, and unrefined friends, young men, young women, lost themselves in the depths of troubles and problems, not understanding or mastering the true insight into the roots of the sickness, truly ready to move on and grip the deeper meaning of racial exploitation, the systematic suppression of our culture, even some of the problems springing from non-identity, unpolished, new, unrefined waves along outdated, frustrated path, find themselves seeking for new ways and visions of different planes. We being here on this European plane with all the problems and the propaganda lies that come, but maybe basically not understanding the true struggle of change, only tearing away quickly, trying desperately to change overnight, but the waves hit and somehow our friends seemingly shifted into an about face time, made it to a needle or some kind of outdone powder. Oh, but they tried to make it like it's been a long, hard struggle, even for our young minds. Productive lives wasted of our closest brothers and sisters, even our friends as soldiers, some of the most gifted artists, musicians. Believe me, we see. I want to tell you something without an answer, without a clue. We have seen productive lives wasted in every way. Has this been revealed to me? Zach, 1972. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that piece, for bringing that one back. Thank you. Next up, I want to invite Renata Pavri. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, so I've signed in from Mumbai in India and it's early morning here. a little dark in the background. So I've got a piece on nature poetry, and it's inspired by my plants. It's called Jeepers Creepers, Lessons from a Vine. Whirly and twirly, the snake gourd rises, a sapling from a seed, nature's surprises. Finding a footing, coiling above and beside, reaching for the light, perceiving where to glide. Curled in the day and unfurled at night, a delicate lattice of a climbing vine's flight. Faith in the elements, determination of its own, insights from a creeper as it seeks its throne. Staying rooted but aiming high, hold on to what matters, they who strength supply. Encouragement and support, the pillars of relationships. The ones who crush your dreams can be let go with some snips. Those who turn away when you're down and out of luck, not the best version of yourself when disaster has struck. You need your people who know all your sides and still stick around at the turning of tides. Like the snake god, threading its way around, be judicious in your choices of the people that surround. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that piece, for being up really early with us. That means a lot. Thank you. And finally, to close us out this evening, I'd like to invite Tarita up to the mic. I see your shocked expression, Tarita. Oh, you're still on mute.
Mute. Right. Wow. Well, okay. Well, thank you. I didn't realize it. I would first, I'd like to say thank you, Raina. Looking forward to having your sunshine, smile, and family come back, and the babies. Just see you guys for a time. I know you go back and forth, but I do hope to take the workshop. Thank you. That was beautiful. I'm glad I made it here in time, and just thanking all the readers. Okay, let me not waste time. Accolades. I want to do one short piece and then another regarding a short piece regarding ancestors. And it's a series of pieces that I've observed with children. Her pillow cinema watches a father hold brown sugar baby girl's big dark eyes, sees her watch scenes that walk opaque in front of him. She had been his great-grandmother. Still looking out for her descendants, she rests her head of soft-spun wool upon her great-grandson father's shoulder, wrapping her new arms around his neck, raises her head, looks lovingly into his eyes, and telepathically says, "Don't ride those underground trains, baby. Something ain't right about them." Pillow cinema ends. So that was one. And there's a series of them, but I'm just going to try and remain within a time. And this is called A Dream Occurred, because I thought of this listening to Raina. A dream occurred. Winds caress face, ascending invisible stage, plot obscure yet familiar. How did I arrive? Who am I so high, overseeing Golden Gate, pass into bay from Pacific emerald embrace of landmass, blush, jade, olive, sandalwood cliffs, panoramic 360, insist I fly east from azure blue skies. Who am I? Breeze hums tunneling through olfactory, serving orifice, salt water mist, emboldened lungs enlist aliveness. Dawn's wing soars worlds unseen, knocking at entries, heralding unending symphony, excited by all there was and all there ever will be. Facing me, who am I? At phase, rushing to engage ears, choirs, celestial fears. This mystery, what are they singing? Who am I? Approaching gold luminous atmosphere that disappears to reappear in cousins' teapot ritual investments, seizes time, interest beat, close synchronous heart to repeat, rest, trust your seat, spirit spirals, Orient's arc, how great thou art, the conquest, guest. New moon's light flight finds birds' feathers, omens surge and mount together. Who am I? Thank you. And that's for all of us, because I know we all ask that at some point in our lives with all that's going on. Thank you so much. And please support MoAD. I'm so honored to have read there when it was opened and been a resident poet, and just very thankful. Thank you, Nia and Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tarita, for those wonderful poems and for shouting out MoAD. You really are part of our poetry community. And I want to thank everyone who shared this evening, all of our readers. Thank you again to Raina for your incredible feature, for being such an essential pillar in the poetry community as well. And I just shared in the chat that our next edition of Open Mic will be on August 19th. And if you are located in the Bay Area and are able to come, it will be hosted in person in the Yerba Buena Gardens. And we're going to be bringing back some of our past features for an all-star edition, which will be really exciting. But it will be recorded, so we will share it with all of you who may not be able to attend. And we'll be doing a virtual version as well in the future to feature some of our other features as well, because we want to make sure to shout out all of our people on this platform. And again, this is one of the many series of programs that MoAD is doing. So I encourage everyone to visit our website to keep attending our programs. And if you are able to financially support the museum, we do appreciate that as well. I'm sharing information on the screen now about giving donations. If you are able to, we either accept them through our website or via phone by texting the number 56512 and typing MoAD SF. Any and all support is really appreciated so we can continue supporting our communities, continuing with this programming. And so please give if you can. And finally, we did just share a program survey in the chat. If you have a couple of seconds following the program to fill out your thoughts, we'd love to hear from you to know what programming to keep doing, any recommendations. It matters, your voice is important in what we do. So thank you all. And I look forward to hopefully seeing a few of you later on in this month, and again, virtually in the following month. I hope you have a good rest of your evening and the rest of your day everywhere you're located. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon, Raina.